There's a type of love we almost never talk about. A love that doesn't appear in romantic songs we hear on the radio. A love that isn't celebrated with flowers or chocolates in store windows. A love that doesn't generate thousands of likes on social media. It's the quietest love of all, the most discreet, the most invisible, and perhaps the most forgotten. It's the love you owe yourself. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to answer it with complete honesty. Not for me, but for yourself. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and felt genuine affection for the person looking back at you? I'm not talking about admiration for a recent achievement. I'm not talking about satisfaction with how you look after getting ready. I'm not talking about that fleeting pride when things go well. I'm talking about something much deeper. I'm talking about love. Real love. Unconditional love. The kind of love you would give to someone you value deeply. When was the last time you felt that for yourself? If right now you're struggling to answer that question, you're not alone. We live in a world that teaches us 1,000 ways to love others, but maintains a deafening silence about how to love ourselves. They tell us to be good children, attentive partners, loyal friends, dedicated professionals. They fill us with instructions on how to give love. But no one taught us how to receive it from the person who needs it most from us, ourselves. And so we grew up. Perhaps you grew up hearing that loving yourself too much is selfish, that thinking of yourself first is for bad people, that sacrifice is the proof of true love. Well-intentioned phrases that, unintentionally, taught you to abandon yourself. This is the first episode of a long journey, a journey of return. Return to you, to that love you forgot to give yourself, or that perhaps you never learned to give. Welcome to Love for Real. I'm your guide on this exploration, and today we are going to talk about the most important love you'll cultivate in your life: self-love. Not the self-love of empty motivational phrases, not disguised narcissism, but real, deep, transformative love toward yourself. Let's start by dismantling a dangerous myth. For decades, we've confused self-love with selfishness, and that confusion has cost us dearly. Selfishness is the exclusive pursuit of personal benefit without considering others. It's me first, always, no matter who I hurt. It's a wall that separates you from the world. Self-love, on the other hand, is something completely different. Self-love is recognizing your own value. It's treating yourself with the same kindness you show to people you care about. It's establishing healthy boundaries. It's prioritizing your well-being not instead of others, but as the foundation that allows you to genuinely care for others. Think of it this way. On an airplane, they always tell you, in case of emergency, put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. Why? Because if you can't breathe, you can't help anyone. Self-love is your oxygen mask. It's not selfish to put it on first. It's essential. But here's what happens. Many of us grew up in environments where our needs didn't matter, where expressing what we felt was being difficult, where asking for what we needed was being demanding, where setting a boundary was being mean. And so we learned to silence ourselves. We learned that love meant erasing ourselves for others. We learned that our value depended on how much we could give, even if it left us empty inside. Let me tell you about Maria. Maria is 34 years old, successful marketing professional, has close friends, a partner who loves her. From the outside, her life looks perfect. But inside, Maria is exhausted. Because Maria says yes to everything. To the extra project at work, even though she's already overwhelmed. To the favor her friend asks, even though she has no time. To plans she doesn't want to attend because she doesn't want to disappoint anyone. Maria takes care of everyone, except herself. And when she finally gets home late at night and looks at herself in the mirror, she doesn't even recognize the person looking back. Does this sound familiar? Maybe you're not Maria, but maybe you have parts of Maria inside you. The part that prioritizes everyone else. The part that feels guilty for resting. The part that believes that if you stop giving, you'll stop being valuable. If so, this episode is for you. Because what you're about to hear could change everything. Before we go deeper, I want you to understand something important about how your brain works. Your brain has a voice. Actually, it has many voices. But there is one in particular we need to talk about. It's the voice of the inner critic. That voice that tells you you're not enough, that you could have done better, that you should be ashamed of that mistake, that others are judging you, that you don't deserve what you have. That voice, where does it come from? In psychology, there's a concept called internalized criticism. It's basically this. Throughout your life, you've heard thousands of messages about who you should be. From your parents, your teachers, society, the media, social networks. Some of those messages were loving and constructive, but others were harsh, critical, demanding. And over time, you internationalized those voices. You made them your own. Now they're not external voices anymore. They are your voice. The voice that speaks to you when you look in the mirror. The voice that evaluates you when you make a mistake. The voice that judges you when you rest. Here's the key question. Would you speak that way to someone you love? If your best friend came to you and said, "I made a mistake at work today," would you respond with, "You're an idiot. You always mess everything up. You're worthless"? Of course not. You could say something like, "Hey, we all make mistakes. What matters is what you learn from this. You're capable and you'll figure it out." So, why don't you give yourself that same compassion? Because no one taught you. No one modeled for you how to treat yourself with kindness. On the contrary, you learned that being harsh with yourself is what pushes you to improve. That self-criticism is motivation. That self-punishment is discipline. But here's what science tells us. Self-criticism doesn't motivate you. It paralyzes you. When you constantly criticize yourself, your brain goes into threat mode. It releases stress hormones. It activates your fight or flight response. And when you're in survival mode, you can't learn. You can't grow. You can't create. You just survive. Self-compassion, on the other hand, activates completely different brain circuits. It activates the same circuits that activate when you receive love from others. It releases oxytocin, the connection hormone. It calms your nervous system. It allows you to see your mistakes as opportunities to learn, not as proof of your inadequacy. In other words, being kind to yourself isn't weak. It's not self-indulgence. It's the smartest thing you can do.
Let's go back to Maria. Maria came to therapy because she was experiencing panic attacks. She didn't understand why. "My life is going well," she said. "I should be happy."
But her body knew something her mind hadn't accepted yet. Her body knew she was running on empty. In our sessions, we started exploring her relationship with herself. And I asked her a simple question. "Maria, when was the last time you did something just for you? Something that had no purpose other than making you feel good?" She looked at me, confused. "I don't understand the question." "Something you did just because you wanted to. Not because you had to. Not because someone asked you to. Just for you." Maria couldn't remember. She couldn't remember the last time she chose herself. We started small. I asked her to do one thing each day just for her. Just one thing. Read 10 pages of a book. Take a bath without rushing. Drink her coffee slowly, savoring it, instead of gulping it down while answering emails. Do you know what happened? The first week, she couldn't do it. Not because she didn't have time, but because every time she tried, guilt consumed her. I should be working. I should be calling my mother. I should be doing something productive. That should was the voice of her inner critic. The voice that told her that her own well-being didn't matter. But we kept working, and slowly, Maria began to understand something fundamental. She didn't have a self-care problem. She had a self-love problem. She had spent so many years believing her value depended on how much she gave to others, that she had forgotten she was valuable simply for existing. It took months, but Maria learned to put on her oxygen mask first. She learned to say no without guilt. She learned that resting isn't laziness. She learned that her needs matter. And something beautiful happened. The more she loved herself, the more love she had to give others. Not less, more. Because now it came from a place of abundance, not scarcity. Now it came from choice, not obligation. Now it came from genuine love, not desperate need for validation. Maria's story is the story of many of us. Maybe it's your story too. And if it is, I want you to know that change is possible. That you can learn to love yourself, even if right now it seems impossible. Even if right now you don't know where to start. Because that's exactly what we're going to explore together.
What changed for Maria? What was the turning point? It was the day she understood something simple but profound. Self-love isn't something you earn. It's something you recognize. Let me explain. Maria had spent her whole life trying to be good enough to deserve love. Good enough daughter, good enough employee, good enough friend, good enough partner. But the bar kept moving. No matter how much she gave, it was never enough. Because external validation never fills the internal void. One day, I asked her, "Maria, if a baby is born, does that baby have to do anything to deserve love?" She looked at me, confused. "No, of course not." "Why not?" "Because babies just are. They don't have to earn anything. They're valuable just for existing." Exactly. So, when did you stop being valuable just for existing? Silence. That question broke something inside her. Because the truth was, Maria had spent so many years believing she had to prove her value that she had forgotten she was born with it. Your value isn't something you build. It's not a grade you earn. It's not a trophy for good behavior. Your value is inherent. It comes with your humanity. It was there before your first achievement. It was there before your first mistake. It's there now. It will always be there. Nothing you do can increase it, and nothing you do can diminish it. You are valuable simply because you exist. So what is self-love then? It's living from that truth. It's treating yourself as someone who has inherent value. It's making decisions that honor your worth. It's refusing to betray yourself to please others. It's saying, I matter. My needs matter. My well-being matters. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you're a human being, and human beings deserve love, including you. When Maria finally understood this, everything changed. The panic attacks stopped, not because her life became perfect, but because she stopped abandoning herself in the process of living it. She still cares for others, but now she also cares for herself. She still gives, but now she also receives. She still loves others deeply, but now she loves herself too. And that changes everything. Now that you understand what self-love is not, let's talk about what it is. Self-love rests on 3 fundamental pillars, and if any of these pillars is missing, the whole structure collapses. First pillar, acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It doesn't mean I'm this way and I'll never change. Acceptance means seeing yourself clearly, without distortion, without exaggerating your flaws, without denying your strengths. Just seeing what is. Right now, you might be thinking, but I have things I don't like about myself. Should I just accept them? Here's the key. You can accept yourself and want to grow. In fact, real growth only happens from acceptance, not from rejection. Let me explain with an example. Imagine you have a garden, and there are weeds in the garden. You have 2 options. Option 1, get angry at the garden, hate it, feel ashamed of it. Tell yourself, this garden is worthless. Option 2, look at the garden with kindness, acknowledge the weeds exist, and then, with care, start removing them. Which approach do you think leads to a beautiful garden? Self-acceptance is looking at your garden with kindness. It's saying, yes, there are weeds, and that's okay. That's normal. Now, let's tend to this garden with love. When you accept yourself, you stop wasting energy fighting against reality. You stop the internal war. And from that place of peace, real change becomes possible. But when you reject yourself, when you hate what you see in the mirror, when you're in constant battle with who you are, all your energy goes into that fight. There's nothing left for growth. So how do you practice acceptance? Start by noticing when you're rejecting yourself, when you're telling yourself, I shouldn't be this way. And in those moments, pause, take a breath, and say, this is what I'm feeling right now. This is where I am, and that's okay. You're not saying, I'll always be this way. You're not saying, I can't improve. You're simply saying, right now, this is what is, and I can hold this with compassion. That's acceptance. It's the foundation of everything else. It's the first pillar of self-love. Second pillar, compassion. Compassion toward yourself is treating yourself the way you would treat someone you love when they're suffering.
Think about it. When a child falls and scrapes their knee, you don't yell, "How clumsy you are." You hug them. You clean the wound carefully. You tell them it will be okay. So why, when you fall, do you insult yourself? Why does your suffering deserve punishment instead of comfort? Self-compassion has three components. First, kindness toward yourself instead of harsh judgment. When you make a mistake, instead of "I'm an idiot," you say, "I'm human, and humans make mistakes." Second, recognition of common humanity. Understanding that suffering is part of the human experience. You're not alone in your struggles. Everyone faces difficulties. Your pain doesn't make you defective. It makes you human. Third, mindfulness. The ability to observe your pain without getting lost in it, without exaggerating it or denying it, just holding it with awareness. Why is self-compassion so hard for us? Because many of us learned that being hard on ourselves is what motivates us to improve. We learned that if we're kind to ourselves, we become lazy, complacent, mediocre. But research shows exactly the opposite. People who practice self-compassion are more motivated, not less. They're more resilient. They recover faster from failures. They try again after falling. Why? Because they're not afraid of failure. They know that if they fall, they'll treat themselves with kindness. So they dare more. They risk more. They grow more. Self-criticism, on the other hand, creates fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of not being perfect. And that fear paralyzes. So next time you make a mistake, instead of attacking yourself, try this. Put your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath and say, "This is hard. I'm struggling. And that's okay. I'm doing the best I can with what I have right now." At first it will feel strange, false. Your mind will resist. Keep doing it anyway. Because over time, compassion becomes your new way of relating to yourself. And that changes everything. Third pillar, responsibility. And this is where self-love distinguishes itself from narcissism. True self-love includes responsibility. Responsibility for your well-being, your growth, your decisions. It's not, "I love myself so I'll do whatever I want without consequences." It's, "I love myself so I won't allow myself to sabotage me. I love myself so I'll choose what truly nourishes me, not what just numbs me. I love myself so I'll have the difficult conversation. I love myself so I'll establish the necessary boundary." Self-love without responsibility is self-indulgence. It's eating the whole cake because I deserve it, even though you know you'll feel terrible afterwards. It's avoiding everything uncomfortable and calling it self-care. It's refusing to grow and calling it self-acceptance. But self-love with responsibility is different. It's treating yourself like someone you're responsible for caring for, like a parent with a child. A good parent doesn't give the child everything they want in the moment. A good parent considers, what does this child need to thrive long-term? Sometimes that means comfort and rest, and sometimes it means gentle push and challenge. Mature self-love knows the difference. It says, "I'm tired, I need rest, so I'll cancel those plans and stay home." And also says, "I'm scared of this presentation,
but I know it's important for my growth, so I'll do it anyway, and I'll support myself through the fear. Love that only consents but never guides. Love that only accepts but never encourages forward movement. That's not complete love. Complete love includes both. So ask yourself, am I making this decision because it truly serves my well-being or because I'm avoiding discomfort? Am I resting because I genuinely need it or am I hiding? Am I setting this boundary because I'm honoring my limits or because I'm running away from connection? These are hard questions, and they don't always have clear answers. But the willingness to ask them is part of loving yourself responsibly. It's treating yourself not as someone to indulge, but as someone to honor. Someone whose future well-being matters as much as their present comfort. That's the third pillar: acceptance, compassion, responsibility. Together, they create the foundation of true self-love. There's something else you need to understand about self-love. Something fundamental that many people overlook. Self-love isn't something you'll find in the applause of others. No matter how many people tell you you're amazing, if you don't believe it, those words won't fill the void. Self-love isn't something you'll build with external achievements. No matter how many titles you have, how much money you make, how much success you accumulate, if you still feel empty inside, no achievement will be enough. Self-love isn't something you'll buy with possessions. The new car, the bigger house, the designer clothes. None of that can give you what only you can give yourself. Because self-love isn't something you earn. It's not a prize at the end of a race. It's not a trophy you receive for being good enough. Self-love is something you recognize. Listen to me carefully. You are already valuable. You already are. You always have been. From before your first achievement, before your first mistake, before the first time someone told you you weren't enough, before the first wound, before the first disappointment. Your value is inherent. It comes with your humanity. It's not something you can lose by making mistakes. It's not something that diminishes when you fail. It's not something that depends on what others think of you. It simply is. Like the sun that rises every morning. You don't have to earn the sunrise. It simply happens. Your value is the same. So self-love isn't building something from scratch. It's remembering something you forgot. It's removing the layers of criticism, of fear, of shame, of external expectations, and finding beneath all that, the truth. The truth that you've always been enough. The truth that you've always been worthy of love. The truth that you don't need to do anything to deserve love. Self-love is simply living from that memory. Every day, every decision, every moment. I know this might sound abstract. Maybe you're thinking, this sounds beautiful, but how do I do it? How do I apply this in my real life? And that's exactly the right question. Because self-love isn't just a nice concept to ponder. It's a daily practice. It's a series of small decisions that over time completely transform your relationship with yourself. And that's exactly what we're going to explore now. Before we get to the practical part, I want to address one more myth. A myth that has caused a lot of confusion. The myth of the other half. Have you heard people say, "I'm looking for my other half. You complete me. I was incomplete until I met you"? This idea is romantic, but dangerous, because it's based on a lie. The lie that you're incomplete, that you're broken, that you need someone else to fill your emptiness. And from that belief, many unhealthy relationships are born. Relationships where people need each other instead of choosing each other. Where there is dependence instead of freedom. Where there is possession instead of respect. Healthy love in partnership isn't when two incomplete halves join to form a whole. It's when two complete people choose to share their lives. Do you see the difference? In the first case, you need each other. If one leaves, the other collapses. In the second case, you choose each other. If one were to leave, both would be sad, but they would remain complete people. The first is emotional dependence disguised as love. The second is true love based on freedom. Healthy love says, "I don't need you to survive, but I choose to build my life with you because it makes me happier." It's choice, not need. It's desire, not dependence. It's freedom, not possession. So before you look for your other half, become a complete orange. Love who you are, know who you are, accept who you are. Build your own life, your own dreams, your own sense of purpose. And then, from that place of fullness, invite someone to share that life with you. Not to complete you, to accompany you. Because two complete people creating something together is much more beautiful than two halves desperately trying to fit together. And it all starts with learning to love yourself first. With recognizing that you are already whole, that you are already enough, that you don't need anyone to validate your worth. And from that place of self-love, everything else flows. Your relationships improve. Your work improves. Your life improves. Not because self-love solves all problems, but because when you love yourself, you make decisions that honor your well-being. You establish boundaries that protect your peace. You choose people who add to your life instead of draining it. And that changes everything. There's one more thing I need you to understand. One more fundamental truth about self-love. Self-love doesn't mean you'll never struggle again. It doesn't mean you'll never feel sad or anxious or afraid. It doesn't mean you'll wake up every day feeling amazing about yourself. That's not how it works. Self-love means that when you do struggle, when you do feel sad or anxious or afraid, you don't abandon yourself in the process. It means that on the hardest days, you're still kind to yourself. You're still compassionate. You're still there for yourself. Like a good friend who doesn't leave when things get difficult. You know what the opposite of self-love is? It's not self-hate. It's self-abandonment. It's leaving yourself alone when you need yourself most. It's punishing yourself when you're already suffering. It's demanding perfection instead of offering compassion. It's being the harshest critic instead of the supportive friend. Self-love is the opposite of that. It's staying with yourself, even when, especially when, things are hard. It's saying, "I see you're struggling, and I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And here's what's beautiful about this. When you learn to be there for yourself, when you learn to not abandon yourself, you become more grounded, more secure, less dependent on others to regulate your emotions. You can still receive support from others. You can still lean on loved ones, but you're not desperately needing them to fill a void only you can fill. That's the power of self-love. It doesn't make you invulnerable, but it makes you resilient. It doesn't mean you never fall, but it means you know how to get back up. It doesn't mean life becomes easy, but it means you face life's challenges with an ally, yourself. And now that you understand what self-love is, now that you understand why it matters, let's talk about how to actually practice it. Because this isn't theory. This is about real, concrete actions you can take today, starting now. Now comes the part that really changes everything. Because knowledge without action is just interesting information. And this channel isn't about information. This channel is about transformation. So I'm going to give you 3 concrete practices you can start today. They're not complicated. They don't require you to buy anything. They don't require you to change your life overnight. But they do require something important. They require consistency. They require you to choose to do them even when you don't feel like it. Even when your mind tells you don't have time. Even when you feel it's not working. Because this is how self-love is built. One day at a time, one decision at a time, one small act of kindness toward yourself at a time. Practice number 1. Conscious dialogue. For the next 7 days, you're going to do something simple but extraordinarily powerful. You're going to observe how you talk to yourself. You don't have to change anything yet. You don't have to force positive thoughts. You don't have to pretend everything is okay. Just observe. Every time you notice you're criticizing yourself, judging yourself harshly, insulting yourself inside, simply acknowledge it. You can note it on your phone, in a notebook, anywhere. A simple line. I spoke harshly to myself today when, and briefly describe the situation. I spoke harshly to myself today when I forgot that appointment. I spoke harshly to myself today when I made that mistake at work. I spoke harshly to myself today when I looked in the mirror. At the end of the 7 days, read everything you wrote down. And ask yourself just one thing. Would I speak this way to someone I love? Don't judge yourself for what you discover. This isn't to make you feel bad. It's not to add more criticism to criticism. It's simply to gain awareness. Because you can't change what you can't see. Once you've observed for that first week, begin the second step. Every time you catch yourself speaking harshly, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what would I tell my best friend if they were in this situation? And then tell yourself that, with the same tone of voice you would use with that person you love. At first it will feel strange, uncomfortable, fake. Your mind will tell you you're deceiving yourself, that it doesn't work, that it's ridiculous. Keep doing it anyway. Because over time, your brain will begin to believe it. What was a forced exercise will become your new natural way of relating to yourself. And that change changes everything. Practice number 2. The non-negotiables. Self-love is demonstrated in the boundaries you establish. It's demonstrated in the things you're not willing to negotiate, not even with yourself. So you're going to define 3 non-negotiables. 3 things you'll do for yourself every day, no matter what. No excuses, no negotiation. They don't have to be big or dramatic things. In fact, it's better if they're small, because small things are what we can actually maintain over time. I'll give you some examples. Sleep at least 7 hours each night. No negotiation. Your rest is sacred. Eat at least 1 meal a day without distractions. No phone, no television, just you and your food, really savoring each bite. Take 5 minutes of silence each day, just for you. No screens, no noise, just breathing, just existing. Move for at least 20 minutes. Doesn't have to be intense exercise. Can be a walk, can be stretching, just move your body. Choose 3 things that when you do them, make you feel like you're caring for yourself, like you're honoring yourself, like you're choosing yourself. And then protect them, like you would protect an important appointment with someone you love deeply, because it is an important appointment. It's an appointment with yourself, and it deserves the same respect you would give any other commitment. Practice number 3, the letter to yourself. This is perhaps the most powerful practice, and also the most difficult. You're going to write a letter addressed to yourself, but you're not going to write it from your usual perspective. You're going to write it from the perspective of someone who loves you unconditionally. It can be from the perspective of your wisest self, that version of you who has already healed, who has already grown, who has already found peace. It can be from the perspective of someone who knows you deeply and sees your complete value even when you can't see it. It can be from the perspective of a loved one who's no longer here, but who always believed in you. In that letter, you're going to tell yourself everything you need to hear, everything you've been waiting for someone else to tell you. Acknowledge your effort, your courage, your silent strength. Acknowledge the battles you fought without anyone knowing, the times you got up when nobody saw you fall, the days you kept going even though you wanted to give up. And also acknowledge your pain, the wounds you still carry, the moments when you were too hard on yourself, the tiredness, the fear, the loneliness. Write with compassion. Write as if you were speaking to the most valuable person in the world. Because you're speaking to someone valuable. You're speaking to yourself. When you finish the letter, keep it in a special place and read it every time you forget your value. Every time the critical voice is too loud. Every time you need to remember you're worthy of love. We are reaching the end of this first episode. But I want you to understand something important. This isn't an ending. It's a beginning. Today you began something significant. Maybe you don't feel it yet. Maybe your mind is looking for reasons to doubt. Maybe a part of you is already thinking, I don't have time to do those exercises. Or, this probably won't work for me. Or, I'm a different case. Listen to that voice. Acknowledge it. But don't give it control. Because that voice is precisely the result of years of self-abandonment. It's the voice that has kept you away from yourself. It's the voice that convinces you that you don't deserve the same love you give to others. And it's precisely because of that voice that this work is so necessary. I want you to understand something fundamental. Loving yourself isn't an act of rebellion against the world. It's not becoming selfish.
It's not stopping caring about others. It's an act of return. Return to your essence. Return to the truth of who you really are. Beyond what you were told you should be. Beyond others' expectations. Beyond the fear of rejection. Beyond the need for external approval. It's removing the layers of criticism you internalized, the layers of expectations that were never yours, the layers of shame that never belonged to you. And finding beneath all that person who has always been there, waiting to be seen, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be loved by you. Don't wait to be perfect to love yourself. Don't wait to achieve more. Don't wait for others to validate you first, because you can wait your whole life, and in the end, discover that the only love you really needed was the love only you could give yourself. Before you go, I want to leave you with a question. You don't need to answer it now. Simply take it with you. Let it accompany you in the coming days. Let it settle in your heart. What would change in your life if you treated yourself with the same compassion you show to the people you love? Think about it. Feel it. And when you're ready, act. See you in the next episode, where we'll talk about love in partnership and how what you build here in self-love becomes the foundation of everything else. Thank you for being here. Thank you for starting this journey. Remember, you're worthy of your own love. You always have been. Until next time.